Hi, I'm Sharon, and I'll be offering you a restorative practice. It'll be about 45 minutes long. Normally, these practices have been about an hour, but I wanted to offer something a little bit shorter so that if you had a limited period of time, you'd still be able to get a really nice restorative practice in. So for props, we'll use a bolster and 2 blocks and 2 to 3 blankets. And by now, you probably know how to put together your own props if you don't have the classic yoga bolster and yoga blankets and the blocks. So you can utilize your own blankets, couch pillows, bed pillows, towels. So I'll show you the shape that we're aiming for in creating the props. And you can just grab whatever you need from your home environment. That's the beauty of this at-home practice. So we'll come on over to the mat and set up for our first pose. So for props, we'll use this bolster and 2 blocks and at least 1 blanket. I would say let's place a blanket underneath the back of our head. And let's take the blocks and set them up on this flat, wide side. We're going to set them up right next to each other. You can see I have them lined up here. And then we'll take the bolster and just lean it on these 2 blocks so we've created a round. Let's take a seat at the base of the bolster and extend our legs out and over the bolster and hooking the knee creases over the top edge. And let's just find ourselves here on the mat. So notice how you're sitting. If you're rounding back like this, let's tilt the hips forward and find those 2 little bony areas that are kind of sticking out and supporting us as they rest on the mat. By rocking from side to side, you can find them, locate them a little easier. And then let's take our hands, place them over each side here of the bolster, and we'll move into a cow and cat sequence. So inhaling, starting to curve the spine back, keeping length in the back of the neck rather than throwing the head way back. And exhale, let's round into cat, starting to open up the back. So this feels really good to my back. I hope it does to yours. Even rocking from side to side, kind of tugging the shoulder blades up off the back a bit so that we're stimulating that soft tissue underneath them. Chin resting on the chest or towards the chest, and then inhale, moving back into cow. Softening the shoulders down, widening the collarbones, softening the sternum, and exhale, rounding into cat. So let's continue at our own breath pace, exploring organic movement here. As you round into cat, just let your hands hold on and then relax the arms, release them so that you're holding your body weight here and those arms contraction out of the shoulders. Let's do this about 3 or 4 more times. There's a gentle rocking back and forth of the hips as we move into the tailbone, going into that tucked position in cat. And then that untucking with the spine moving into that opposite curve. Widening, softening around the throat, the heart, the shoulders, and exhale. Last time. This time as we come into cat, we will keep that kind of rounding in the spine, bring our hands behind us. Maybe picking up the hips and moving them closer to the bolster. And then as you lower down, bend the elbows and have them pointing behind you so that the shoulder blades soften down your back. So what happens is if the elbows are bending out and away, then the shoulders tend to round forward and the shoulder blades pick up off the back, and it creates some instability around the shoulders and shoulder blades. So this way, We have this nice, safe, strong structure around the shoulders, coming all the way down. Place your head resting on the blanket, maybe make a little tiny roll under the neck. Arrange that blanket so that it feels really comfortable. Arms relaxing down to each side. And then I like to take one leg at a time and extend it up and out and over, hooking my knee crease over the edge of the bolster. Same with the other. So I really have a gentle tugging of the thigh bones here out of the hips, ever so slightly. Can feel really good as the hips take a lot of pressure. Just let your arms settle. And you may, if you do have a light on in the room, you might want to place a scarf or something over the eyes just to block out some of that external stimuli. So I'm taking another blanket here. I like the weight of the blanket on my body, or maybe you have a sandbag or a pillow that can feel really comforting to help us start to relax. So we'll stay here for a bit as we start to just come into our physical body. So whatever you were doing before this practice, letting all of that go. Taking some nice, full, deep breaths, making this quality connection with breath. Just notice the rhythm of the breath and see if you can slow it down. So slowing down the inhales, moving into your body. And even slower out on the exhale. Breathing out the mouth or out the nostrils, whichever feels best. And again, slow, soft, calming breath, moving, expanding into the body. And same qualities as the breath leaves the body, but we're taking a few counts longer to allow the exiting of the breath out. So adding that extra length to the exhale helps to calm the nervous system, helps to initiate our relaxation response. Continuing at your own breath pace, your own unique rhythm, allowing the water-like quality of the breath to move in, wash in through the body, into that internal landscape. And then exhale, releasing, just feeling your body settle and relax a little bit more on each exhale. As the breath moves in slowly, softly, where do you feel that expansion, that swelling of breath in your body? Maybe it's around the rib cage, the belly. Maybe you feel movement around the hips, a little slight pressure around the kidneys, the back body. And then exhale, releasing. So if your thoughts are distracting you, that's perfectly normal. Just notice it. And imagine that those thoughts are like white, puffy clouds against a beautiful blue sky. Clouds just moving, being carried by a gentle breeze. There are clouds. We can't make them go away. We don't want to. The same with our thoughts. Just let the thoughts move across that blue sky like clouds. Maybe even taking that imagery further, imagining that comfortable, perfect temperature of the breeze, perhaps some wonderful golden sunlight warming up your body to the perfect temperature. Always coming back to the breath. So as you notice that your thoughts are there, I want you to redirect your attention to the breath, how it moves in and out of the body, the texture of the breath, how it feels, the expansion, the release, that anchoring down of the spine into the earth as the breath leaves your body. As we rest here, noticing how the body begins to soften as tension starts to leave the body. Maybe it becomes a little challenging to find where that boundary between your physical body and the earth exists. Maybe there's a blending, a blurring of that boundary, a softening. Just enjoy, just notice that sensation. For anything else you might be experiencing in your body. Spend about another minute here just enjoying these slow, soft breaths. Let that breath move three-dimensionally, expanding all the way down to the lower belly, lower back, mid-back, laterally out towards the sides of the rib cage, and also just setting the belly, the chest free, allowing this full expansion of the breath. The front of the rib cage soften, the sternum releasing, just letting go of any emotional, mental armor that you might be carrying into this yoga practice. This is a safe, calm space where you're able to just let go of any defenses that aren't serving your yoga practice. Just letting that tension melt out of the musculature of the body. And as you feel ready, let's extend arms overhead along the floor. Maybe that little roll in the blanket gets in the way, so you can flatten out the blanket. And let's extend the legs as well, coming into a full body stretch here, maybe pressing the legs down into the bolster, lifting the hips, starting to rotate hands and feet at wrists and ankles, spreading between fingers and toes. Continuing to stay connected to that full deep breath, and then let's rotate hands and feet in the opposite direction. And then arms lowering down by your side, taking a brief pause of a couple of rounds of breath as you just notice how you're feeling, any shifts in mind or body. Just noticing without making up a story about whatever you're feeling. So it's really helpful if we meet ourselves on the mat each time we practice, exactly where we are, whatever feelings, thoughts we're carrying, however our body feels. Some days it's tired, some days we're energized. Just creating space for all of it. So next we'll move into a sequence of windshield wiper movement. I want to do this using the bolster in this position, but if I start to bend my knees in, and then I place my feet here on the bolster, I'm a little bit too close. So I'm going to just scoot back several inches so I have a little more room. You can see that my feet are on this top edge. My feet are also all the way out to the edges of the bolster so that they're placed wider than the width of my hips. And then my arms are relaxing out to each side. I'm taking an inhale. As I exhale, my legs lower over to the right and exhale. So if you'd like, you can turn your head all the way to the left and turn this into a full spinal twist. And then inhale, legs center, exhale, legs lower over to the left. Head could turn towards the right if you like that. Nice gentle stretch through the neck and down the spine. And just continuing like that. You could also start to add some length by extending your left arm overhead as the legs lower to the right. If there's any discomfort in the shoulder or around the shoulder, then there's no need for that full extension. You could just place the arm wherever it feels comfortable. And then inhale, legs center, exhale, legs lowering over to the left, and then that right arm could come up. So let's just enjoy this, maybe 3 more sets of windshield wiper, bringing some length and release into the thighs, the hip flexors, that band of fascia that runs down the outside edges of the thighs can be really tight, the IT band. Creating length and space between the ribs, those intercostal muscles that are located in and around the ribs. Those are secondary breathing muscles, with the respiratory diaphragm being the primary. So we just want to create some space, expansion, flexibility through those muscles around the ribs so the rib cage can expand more as we breathe. Okay, so let's tip all the way over to one side. Let's take a full breath here, bending the arm underneath us, using the bicep for a little pillow. And then let's take the top hand, press down. You could extend this top leg as well. It makes coming up just nice, like a nice little flow. And then let's remove our props. Remove the bolster and the blocks. And we're coming into table on hands and knees. And it is an option for you to place a blanket folded underneath your knees if there's any sensitivity in the knees at all. That's a nice option. So coming into hands and knees, let's bring hands wider than shoulders and knees wider than hips. And let's start to move into cow. So my hips tilt forward. There's a drop down in my spine, and I'm lifting from the back of my head, crown of my head, pressing through palms, and then exhale, I'm rounding into cat. Neck releases and softens, the head, the weight of the head just moves downwards, succumbing to gravity, creating length in the neck. And inhale and exhale. Inhale. Starting to move the spine, waking up the muscles, running parallel to the spine, paraspinal muscles. Now we'll start to bring some rounded movement in here. So inhale, cow, exhale, cat, and start to lower the hips to the right heel, to the left heel, circling back up to cow and cat. Same thing, making big circles here, bringing some circular mobility into shoulders and hips. And then we'll take that in the opposite direction from cow. Cat, hips lower to the left heel, to the right heel, coming all the way up and repeating that. So by having our hands wider than shoulders and knees wider than hips, we're able to create more of a circular movement and access more of that range of motion in the hips, in the shoulders. Okay. So from here, let's go ahead and take this left foot, extend it, press through the ball of the foot, and noticing our alignment. So we want to be pressing through the palms. If the wrists are sore, you could be on your knuckles. You could even be on your forearms. That's fine. Pressing through the ball of the left foot, opening the back of the left leg, the Achilles tendon, maybe rocking forward and back. And same thing on the other side, lifting from the back of the skull so that the head doesn't drop. When the head drops, the shoulder blades collapse in on each other and we lose a lot of stability through the shoulders. So rather than this, I'm here, spreading between shoulder blades. So a little forward rock back, opening up the back of that right foot. And coming all the way back, let's come onto our knees, lifting arms all the way up, and exhale, coming down like a little 1/4 sun salutation, and exhale. And one more time. Just a little bit of movement, and coming down into any comfortable seat, and I'll show you the setup for the next posture. We'll do a little reclining twist. So we'll take the blocks and set them up like this, like a little stairway, okay? And take the bolster, setting it up here with a little bit of overhang so that the blocks can really support the area of the body that needs the support. You could have a blanket here if you like, or a towel, whatever it is you might have handy. And I like placing a blanket at the base of the props to cushion any parts of the feet that don't like hard surfaces. And then approaching the bolster, I'm coming in here and bringing my left thigh right next to the base of the bolster and lining up my left hip with the lower left-hand corner of the bolster. So again, if you look down, you'll see your leg next to the base of the bolster. You'll see your left hip at the lower left-hand corner of the bolster. Then you'll put a hand on each side here. And let's inhale and lengthen the spine. And exhale, start to lower down. So trying to center the torso on the bolster. Really think about lining up that left side of the rib cage with the left side of the bolster. And then you can turn your head all the way to the left. So you could experiment with or without the blanket. It's kind of nice, or maybe pull it up higher and just use it as a pillow. So you're in this wonderful twist where you can take some really nice full breaths to help to promote digestion. The breath expanding really massages abdominal organs, the back body, all the fascia, connective tissue, musculature along across the back. You might find all kinds of interesting areas, sensation in the body. I would recommend trying kumbhaka, which means breath retention. So it's an interesting way to just enhance the experience of this twist. You would take a breath retention at the top of the inhale. So slow breath in at your own pace. Holding the breath for several counts or more or less. Relax as you hold the breath. Don't tense any muscles. And then exhale. Out the mouth feels good, out the nostrils. Just feeling yourself settling deeper into the shape of the pose, deeper into the twist. Continuing that for several minutes. Just staying in the pose for several minutes, playing with the kumbhaka as much or as little as you like. Softening the shoulders, let the palms relax down into the earth. Relax your fingertips, make sure they're spread and you're not kind of trapped in that little claw shape of the hand. Just let the hands release, let the hands ground into the earth. Let it be a symbolic gesture for letting go of everything. So there's actual benefits happening on a physical level from the twist, movement of body fluids, blood, lymph, moving stale energy on a more subtle body level. Really feel the breath swell up on the inhale. Across the back body, massaging the kidneys. And as you exhale, body settles more deeply into this twist, into this shape. Just notice if you can release tension anywhere else in the body where you're holding it. And also in that emotional layer of your being, just letting go, trusting your body, trusting your mind. Take a few more breaths on this side and we'll transition to the other. If you're ready to come up, hands slide back towards you until they're more or less underneath the shoulders. Take an inhale. As you exhale, squeeze elbows in, shoulder blades down the back as you press through your hands, lifting the torso and the head. Let's come into table, over our bolster, over our props. Let's move through some cow and cat, any version that you'd like. Starting to move the spine. And setting up for the other side. So from table, pick up that right knee and move it next to the left. You might need to move both knees a little further to the left, and then lower your right hip down so it lines up with that bottom right corner of the bolster. Your right thigh is resting against the lower edge of the bolster. One hand on each side of the bolster. Inhale, lengthen the spine, and exhale, start to lower the torso down, trying to center it on the bolster. The right side of the torso lining up with the right side of the bolster, forearms coming down to the floor and turning your head to the left. Getting yourself set up so that you're really comfortable here. And if there's any discomfort in the lower back, just rearrange your legs, maybe stack the top leg on the lower leg, maybe move both legs further away from the bolster. Just experiment with how you're positioning your legs. And if there's any discomfort at any time that you can't alleviate, then you could turn your entire body onto your side on the bolster like this and simply rest. So these postures should never be uncomfortable. Okay. So again, feeling that nice deep breath. And just spend several minutes here in quiet, watching the rise and fall of your breath. Maybe playing with that kombucha breath, taking that retention at the top of the inhale, releasing on the exhale. And if your thoughts begin to distract you, just notice that. Come back to your breath. Imagine your thoughts are those white fluffy clouds moving across the sky against that beautiful blue sky as the backdrop. And repeatedly, if you need to, go through that process, staying calm without getting judgmental of yourself or thinking you're human. It's going to happen. Instead, just go with that process. Let it become a part of your practice rather than an interruption of your practice. Because the skills that we learn on the mat, we take off the mat. So that if someone is irritating you, rather than getting inflamed about it, if you will, literally or figuratively, instead, you could come to your breath and just notice, be curious, observe, rather than trying to change something or someone. And as we use our breath to calm down in a subtle manner, others may not be aware of what we're doing, but we will have more of a sense of calm, and others around us will feel that, and they might calm down. They might. I've seen it happen a lot in my life and in others. So taking a few final breaths in this twist, preparing to come out. Nice full breath out the mouth, and then slowly sliding hands towards you until they're under the shoulders. Take an inhale, exhale, lifting up, and this time let's start to pivot to our left. Halfway so that the bolster is now behind us. Knees are bent, feet are on the mat. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, start to lower down. I'm going to remove this blanket. And you can keep yours if you like the feel of it under the back of your head. Take a full body stretch, moving into a starfish shape, rotating hands and feet. Taking full breaths. And just noticing now if breath is moving through the body with more ease. All of the breathing muscles warmed up, softer, warmer, literally. Rotate hands and feet in the opposite direction, and then let your arms eventually float down. And let's spend a few minutes in this open-hearted position, this supported back bend. We just kind of coaxed ourselves into this really wonderful, open, receptive pose, a supported back bend. Enjoy some full breaths, really feeling that breath as it originates from the center of the body, moves multi-directionally, oscillating outwards to the extremities of the body. Keep some length in the back of the neck so that the chin is not jutting upward. So if your chin wants to go like this and aim upward, then by simply placing a blanket under the back of the head, it creates more space in the neck and allows the chin to soften and melt in towards the throat. Enjoy 5 or 6 or 4 full breaths, depending on the rhythm of your breath and pace. Again, you can add the breath retention at the top or at the bottom of the breath. Let's try it at the bottom of the exhale. Holding the breath. And then breathing back in. When the breath retention comes at the end of the exhale, you can really feel that sense of inner stillness when all activity stops. Start to bend the knees, slide the soles of your feet towards you on the mat. Tip over onto your left side, either up on the bolster, it's kind of nice, or you could come all the way down onto the floor. I think I'll stay up here on the bolster, just for a pause, just to transition out of that last posture and into our shavasana. So my right hand is coming down to the floor, pressing up, and I'm going to rearrange my props. And I'm coming into Stonehenge. So I will take this blanket and place it here just to provide some cushioning, some warmth for my back body because it's a little chilly today in here. And I'll take the blocks and set them up like this and the long edges, making a support for the bolster. And then I will take a blanket and place it underneath the back of my head down here. And I'm bringing my hips close to the bolster, swinging my legs over. And then that same concept applies lowering down. So the torso is soft, so I'm not arching back and creating strain in my back and neck. I'm just softening downwards, elbows bending, but squeezing in shoulder blades down the back, coming onto forearms, and then lowering all the way down. Setting up the blanket underneath the back of my head. Making a little blanket roll under my neck, and I like to tuck the edges of the blanket underneath and make a little nest for the back of my head. It feels really cozy. Reminds me of my grandma tucking me in when I would spend the night there. And then feel free to just kind of rearrange the legs until you feel like your lower back especially is really comfortable. And this posture is good for lower back tension by lifting the legs up, the thigh bones up. It allows the lower back to release. Arms can be simply relaxing out to each side, resting on the earth. And let's just take this time to conjure up a thought about gratefulness. What is something or someone for whom, for which you feel gratefulness? Whatever that might be, bring that to your mind, bring it to your heart. Really feel as if you're reliving that experience of that depth of gratefulness, of gratitude, feeling so blessed, whether it's for something, just a hot bath or a kind word someone spoke to you or something bigger. It doesn't matter. It's the feeling. And just let yourself marinate, soak, revel in that wonderful feeling. Gratefulness is powerful and creates a wonderful state in our body, helps us stay in that relaxation mode, in that calmer part of our nervous system. It helps to, it just kind of washes away any fear or anxiety. We can stay in that grateful state. Feel that gratefulness as a warmth or a light or an energy moving through the body, starting at the heart center. Maybe you can see it as a golden light or whatever color you want. See it spreading from the heart to the chest, shoulders, neck, arms, fingers, hands, washing up around the head to the crown of the head, moving with each breath. So much gratefulness, moving down around the belly, the back, the ribs. And if you don't feel grateful, that's okay. Just be, just let yourself be with whatever's happening. And just feeling that warmth, that energy moving down to the pelvic floor, the hips, the legs, ankles, the rest of the feet. Like a little cocoon of light energy you're resting in. Creating this wonderful place, this wonderful sacred space during this practice. I'd like you to stay in this posture as long as you'd like. It has been 45 minutes of our practice together. You are at home, which is the wonderful thing about our online yoga. So if you would like, just stay here another 5 or 10 minutes and just let your breath move slowly in and out. Let yourself rest even more deeply in this final posture, shavasana. It is the most important posture. It's where the benefits of the practice can really integrate into the body, into the mind. Just enjoying being on your mat. So thank you so much for letting me guide you through this practice. And I hope to offer you more yoga in the future. Thank you.